So you want to say that the right are the extremist threats, that we're the ones that are dangerous, that we're the ones that are threatening. Again, where are the examples? Hello, welcome to my channel, Outspoken Samantha. If you are new here, welcome. Hit that subscribe button. If you are returning, welcome back. Thank you for the support. On my channel, I like to give my opinion and perspective on things that are happening today, things that I think actually matter to everyday people, especially those of us that are trying to raise kids in the insanity known as today's society. We are not CEOs of big corporations, we're not part of the mainstream media, and we do not live in the Hollywood bubble. We are also not politicians in Washington, D.C., but we do have to live with the consequences of the decisions being made and the narrative being pushed by the people in the previously mentioned categories. If you feel like that describes you and you know exactly what I'm talking about, please like this video, leave a comment below, and also share it. Also, be sure to subscribe to my channel and help me to grow this channel so I can reach more people that value logic, reason, and sanity. Also, be sure to find me on Rumble under Outspoken Samantha in the event that we lose our ability to connect here on YouTube and we've got to take the show somewhere else. That being said, let's get into today's topic. I know that most of us have given up on the mainstream media as being a reliable source of information for pretty much anything. It's all opinions, it's all narrative based, it's all agenda based. Like, this is the goal, this is the agenda. What do we have to say to get people from A to B, to get them down this path towards where we want them to be, whether or not it's true, whether or not it's verifiable, whether or not the evidence backs it up, whether or not it actually aligns with what people see right in front of their faces. We need to say whatever we need to say to get them to this particular belief system. And that's what quote unquote news sources have turned into. And it's actually interesting because somebody, I can't remember who it was, pointed this out the other day that in general, across America, even, a decade ago, most of us used to trust, maybe a little longer than a decade ago, but we used to trust the news and the mainstream media for the most part, at least to get a basic idea of what was going on in the world, at least get a rundown of current events and news stories and different things that were happening locally and nationally. Like, at least we could understand what was going on in our country for the most part just by turning on the news. And since then, it really has just become a lot of people that have very strong opinions about what they want everybody in America to believe in, and that they're willing to say and do anything and to push any narrative and any talking point and even change the definition of words to get people to follow that particular belief system. Very dishonest. And this has been proven over and over and over again. I know a lot of people on the left believe that you just don't trust the mainstream media because Trump told you it's fake news. So it's not because it is fake news, it's because somebody else told you it's fake news. And I'm like, no, I know it's fake news because they have proven repeatedly that they are fake, that they lie, that they just say whatever they have to say, regardless of whether or not it's true, to get people to believe what they want them to believe. And they have been caught doing this numerous times. And even when they are caught, they don't own it. They don't redact it. They don't take it off the internet. They just ignore it as much as they possibly can, issue some, half semblance of an apology if they absolutely have to, but they don't remove the information either way. So they're not trusted. They're not trustworthy. They should not be anybody's source of information that they go to as a reliable source if you really want to know the current state of affairs in any sort of accuracy. So that being said, and I feel like most of us feel this way, and the reason I know most of us feel this way is because the mainstream media, a lot of these, especially left-wing news channels, are just hemorrhaging viewers. People are dropping them like flies. They've had so many shows canceled. CNN Plus couldn't even last a month. People recognize that these sources are no longer trustworthy, and when people can actually see that for themselves and that evidence and that these people have proven to be liars, when people can see that for themselves, they make that decision. They make these decisions based on what is being shown. So, we know that most people have just given up on the mainstream media, which I'm really grateful for. But unfortunately, not everybody has gotten there. And the mainstream media continues to peddle absolute crap. And you know how I know it's absolute crap? Because they say a lot of things that they don't feel like they have to back up, that they don't have to prove, that they can say, you know, Republicans are extremists and they're a threat to our democracy and they're a threat to our country and our way of living, without actually having to say, and this is how I know how I know this. This is example X, Y, and Z, 1, 2, and 3 of how I know this to be true, of this person doing this, and this person saying this, and this person passing this legislation that I have verified for myself and read word for word and can tell you that this is exactly what is happening. That they can just say whatever they want and not actually have to prove to you in any way that what they're saying is true. So I came across this little clip, and I apologize to Glenn Beck in advance. I did take this little clip off of one of his news clips. It's just a little piece of it. So if Glenn Beck ever happens to see this, sorry, I took just a little snippet of your content just to kind of prove what I'm saying here. So I appreciate that. But let's just watch just a few things that the mainstream media are still saying that are just so astonishing to me, just absolutely astounding. And not only that there are still people that listen to them. So I thought about playing the entire clip. It's only about a minute long, but I'm gonna play just like little snippets and then respond to each little piece so you can kind of get like the frustration that I am feeling. And I just can't believe that people listen to this. Okay, so here's the first little snippet.
This means war. That is where we are. We are at war with these people. These folks are evil.
Okay, so this is where we are. We're at war with these people. These people are evil. How are we evil? What incidents can you point to say we are evil? What are we doing that is evil? Are we the ones that are releasing violent criminals back into the street to assault and attack innocent people repeatedly? Are we the ones letting thousands of pounds of fentanyl come over our southern border that is now killing thousands of innocent Americans every single month? Are we the ones letting our cities be overrun with drugs and illness and homelessness and letting human beings just wither away on the side of the road in their own feces? And are Republicans the ones running down Democrats in their cars due to political differences? Like, how are we the evil ones? Because I could get on there and say, guess what? I think Democrats are evil, and boom, 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 this is why. But you want to be able to say something like that and not be able to explain how you came to that conclusion or what evidence points to that. Here's the next one.
There is an ultra-right MAGA contingent in this country that wants to overthrow the U.S. government.
Overthrow the U.S. government? We're actually trying to preserve the U.S. government as it is. We are trying to preserve free speech and individual liberty and religious liberty and the right to protect yourself when the people in charge have lost their freaking minds and start labeling dissenters as enemies and then allowing them to be targeted with criminality and violence. And, you know, to preserve the right to live that's granted by God and not allow government to determine if you have the right to live based on whether or not you're wanted, based on whether or not you comply, based on whether or not you're vaccinated, and a system of government that protects people and works for people, not elitists, that actually keeps power-hungry politicians in check so they can't ruin our lives. And they can't determine how much or how little we succeed, that we have as much power as humanly possible to make the most out of our lives. We're trying to keep the U.S. system of government in place as it is and not let it be ruined by people that are only out for power for themselves.
The MAGA movement is a threat.
The extremists that we're dealing with every single day, we've got to kill and confront that movement.
Clearly, this is a literally call to arms.
You want to say that the right are the extremist threats, that we're the ones that are dangerous, that we're the ones that are threatening. Again, where are the examples? Who is being threatening? What are people saying? What are they doing? Like, can you back this up, or do you just want to be able to say this as a means of division, as a means of creating fear in your base so that your base doesn't even want to talk to people on the right? Your base doesn't even want to be around people on the right. You guys are the ones that are using phrases like kill and confront, and this is a call to arms, and we are at war with these people. Like, we're not the ones saying this. You are. And you guys are the ones that are utilizing our criminal system, our FBI, to target people because of having a different belief system, having a different belief on how the government should be run, which is a freedom that we do have in this country, which is protected by the system of government that we are trying to preserve, by the way. Mark Houck, a pro-life activist in Pennsylvania, I believe, was arrested last week just for being a pro-life activist. Marjorie Taylor Greene had somebody make a false report about her murdering somebody in her home. Come to find out, the reason that they did that was so that the FBI would swarm her home, that there would be enough chaos and potentially cause her harm in all of the confusion. The reason they called is because they didn't like her position on transgender ideology. That was the whole reason. So again, who is the threat? Where are the examples of Republicans doing these things to Democrats? Because it's not happening. So you want to be able to say these things without actually being able to back it up. And you are hoping and praying that people ignore the fact that this is everything that your party is doing exactly.
Republicans, I think, are the biggest threat to democracy. We don't separate right-wing extremists and Republican Party anymore.
So like the day after Joe Biden's speech, where he had the blood red background in the, Stalin type aesthetic going on, he said, no, I wasn't talking about all Republicans. I was just talking about like the extreme far right. Those are the extremists. I don't see all Trump supporters as a threat, just like this extreme far right group. And I mean, we knew 100% that he was lying when he said he wasn't referring to all Republicans. And we also knew that the mainstream media would not hold back in completely contradicting that, because they love the opportunity. Y'all love the opportunity to target Republicans and make sure that you fuel your base to absolutely hate the right. Like, you were not going to hold back. You weren't going to hold back and say, no, we're just talking about a few select people that we think have really extremist views. We're just going to target the entire political right for having these opposing views, for simply just not being a Democrat. And mind you, that is the definition of fascism, not like this leftist definition where they just want to use this word to target the right, to paint the right as these far right extremists and make their base afraid of the right. The actual definition of fascism is, using this dictatorship, using this control to silence political opposition and make everybody kind of believe and follow the same thing through force, through political violence, through any means necessary, which, we can clearly see happening. So
I see this as a party, a MAGA party that no longer is confident that they can win elections with votes. And so now they're seeking to enact their political will through violence.
And provide examples. Where are Republicans trying to stop elections with violence? Can you point to any proof of this, any incident of this happening, anybody inciting this whatsoever? I mean, yes, there was January 6th. That was almost 2 years ago. That was a couple of hours in the Capitol building that should never have happened. That was egregious behavior. Can you point to anything else? Because we have months and months and months of footage of riots caused by BLM and Antifa, and pretty much any Democrat voter that wanted to participate and steal thousands of dollars of shoes from Nike and firebomb a police car just because they knew they could get away with it. But the endless footage of the Democrat media excusing it, Democrat officials inciting it, and people like Nancy Pelosi and Ayanna Pressley and Maxine Waters and AOC and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris justifying this violence and bailing people out. The leftist crowds that went outside of the Supreme Court justice's home after Roe v. Wade was overturned and shouted and threatened, and one guy even showed up to assassinate Justice Kavanaugh. And you guys remember when Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away? There were people literally threatening to kill people in the streets if we dared to replace her before the election. We have video after video of cities burning, of Democrats yelling, of activists threatening every single time something happens on the left that they don't like. Yet you're on your mainstream media platform saying that we're the ones threatening violence and retaliation with absolutely no proof that that's happened, without feeling like you need to cite an instance or point to a source or point to something, anything that proves what you're saying is true, that people do need to be concerned. You just want to be able to say it, to be divisive, to get your base to be afraid to talk to people on the right, and to take the attention off the fact that you guys literally do every single thing that you accuse Republicans of doing. And if you're somebody who believes it despite what the endless proof shows you, then I don't know what to tell you, because you could probably be convinced that if it would keep a Republican out of office for you to jump off a cliff, you would take a flying leap. Like, if somebody told you that Republicans were such a threat that you needed to, that you laying down in the middle of the train tracks would keep them from being in power, you would lay down in the middle of the train tracks. Like, that is how easily you can be manipulated. You can be told that to ignore what's happening right in front of your face. The fact that the people that are telling you that the other side is so violent are actually doing everything that they say the other side is doing, and you can be convinced to ignore it. Like, I don't even know what to tell you. So, I have seen so many people in the last probably, 18 months say that they regret voting for Joe Biden. They have at least partially opened their eyes because they realize that the things that they were led to believe were total lies. And they have seen the far leftists in control for what they are. Power-hungry elitists who see everybody that is not them, everybody that is lower than them, as pretty much a bug that they can squash, and that we don't deserve any more rights than what they feel like they should give us. And it's not just Republicans that they see in this light, or conservatives, or Trump supporters or mega extremists. They see their leftist base this way too. Because you know how I know that? Because we're all paying astronomical gas prices. We are all the potential, potentially victims of random attacks of violence. Actually, if you're on the leftist base, you probably have more potential to be the victim of a random act of violence, because you live in a city where your officials are letting people out of prison that are violent criminals, that are just wreaking havoc and beating up people and assaulting people in broad daylight and facing absolutely no consequences. But they're not protecting you. Your grocery shelves are just as empty as mine are. They're not saving you from anything. You're being used to push their agenda and their talking points because you can be influenced to ignore what's happening right in front of you. And you believe just words, despite that what is happening right in front of your face does not align with what is being said. So if you do happen to finally open your eyes and you wonder what the heck you can do, stop believing these people. These are the same people that talked you into electing them in 2020 because they said they wanted unity, because they said they wanted all the violence and the chaos to end. The violence and chaos that they incited and allowed to happen, by the way. They promised economic recovery after COVID, yet we're all paying the highest inflation rates in 50 years. And 5 minutes ago, we were all paying almost $6 a gallon for gas. Our strategic oil reserves are almost empty because the left is trying to create the illusion that gas prices are going down just to get elected. But after November, those prices are going to skyrocket again. And you will not be safe from it. It's not just going to affect Republicans, it's going to affect all of us. They don't care if they're inflicting this on their base or on the Republican base. They're the same people who talked you into giving up secure borders, who talked you into giving up a record economy, giving up low gas prices, giving up international security, giving up a time when we had no wars going on, giving up low crime rates, and giving up economic stability. They knew all of these things were happening. They knew that people were working. They knew that the economy was stabilizing after COVID. They knew that our borders were secure. They knew that we had achieved peace deals in so many areas that never had these peace deals before. They knew it, and they talked you into giving all of that up, which just shows how evil and depraved they are and how much they don't care, how much they hurt you, that they are willing to say whatever they have to be in power, and then they're going to let you suffer fully afterwards. It's like they turned on this fire hose of destruction that's been blasting everyday Americans for the last year and a half, almost 2 years. And when it came to election season, it's like they all jumped on the fire hose to keep it from blasting, just to stop the water flow without turning it off. But it's just filling up with that water pressure, aka destruction, waiting to burst. And after November 9th, they're going to jump off of that fire hose, and it is going to hit us harder than it has ever hit before. I don't know what else to tell you besides, if you haven't learned by now, then you probably aren't going to learn in the future. But it's almost like being in a bad relationship when, you know, they're mean and brutal and abusive, and then you leave, and then they're like, okay, I promise to change. I promise to be better and to treat you better. And then you go back and the same thing happens, and then you leave, and then they say the same things to get you to back. It's like this vicious cycle. It's like they have no intention of changing whatsoever. They just want to say what they have to say to get you back in the grasp, and then continue to be harmful and manipulative and destructive to you. So it's a cycle that keeps happening. It's what evidence shows. It's what they have proven themselves to do repeatedly, decade after decade after decade, and they're not going to stop. So I don't know what to tell you, but once you are ready to open your eyes, just stop listening to mainstream media. Stop listening to these people. They do not have your best interests at heart. I personally want violence to stop. I want criminals to be in prison because I don't want them attacking anybody. I don't want them to just, stay away from Republicans. I want them to stay away from everybody. I want everybody to have economic stability. I want everybody to have financial stability. I want everybody to be paying freaking $2 a gallon for gas. I don't want that just for Republicans. I want that for everyone. I want everybody to have a thriving and successful economy, not just the right. I want everybody to have that. Everybody deserves that. Everybody has the right to that opportunity. It's not political. So let me know what your thoughts are. Leave a comment below, and I will see you in the next one.